Yo. Yeah. Endless summer.
Call of Duty Modern Warfare hasn't even had a proper gameplay reveal, and yet there are already game journalists calling for it to be censored. VentureBeat's Dean Takahashi has advocated for and doubled down on wanting certain segments censored. It all started with an article published on May 30th, 2019 over on VentureBeat by Takahashi, where he writes in a bedridden fashion. The publisher's Infinity Ward studio recently showed a part of the single-player campaign for an upcoming installment of Call of Duty Modern Warfare, and it has scenes and gameplay in it that are very disturbing to me. It brings to mind the No Russian controversy, where civilians are mowed down in a Russian airport in 2009's Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2. I was quite uncomfortable as I watched a gameplay demo of Modern Warfare, which is more than just a remake of 2007's Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare. The demo, which will be shown at the Electronic Entertainment Expo (E3) game trade show in June, has two parts. In both cases, the safety of civilians comes into question. The article goes on to describe how the game will blur the lines between the moral boundaries of war. Players will have to kill or be killed in scenarios that run the gamut from soldiers engaged in lethal fire to clearing out houses where civilians and insurgents blend together like a melted Neapolitan ice cream sundae unattended under the waning sun of an early September afternoon. Players will have to pick their shots carefully, avoiding killing civilians in some cases, while taking down hostile combatants in others. This rocked the fragile soul of Takahashi like a child in Nagasaki watching the plumes of flame pillar over the clouds, before being consumed by fear and fire. You could almost feel the uneasy trembling echoing across the clank and clatter of keys as Takahashi began to frame his rebuttal, writing, "This is the nature of modern combat, the developers say. But this should not be a part of a modern video game, in my opinion, given the thin line between civilians and warriors, and given the impression it creates in our world, which is driven by social media sound and video bites. It looks so much like you are killing innocent civilians. And if you make a mistake, you are. I'm told that the narrative of the story, which is generally secret, will explain the context for this scene. But as it is, as I've seen it, I found it profoundly disturbing and unjustifiable." After showing us this scene, the developers at Infinity Ward went right into a presentation where they said, "We'd like to talk to you about the star of the game, which is the weapons." Sadly, I do not have pictures of this scene to show you. The article goes through one more descriptive scenario before getting to the meat of the matter. Two child soldiers are forced to kill a man in the Middle East for their own survival. A common thing that takes place in the war-torn region. However, being in the visceral heat of interactive combat, where life and limb are at stake, and racing beats of one's heart play a tune of fury and trauma, swirled in a melody of chaos and violence, it shapes a different kind of experience for the player. One more visceral than the typical encounter, thanks to today's advanced photogrammetric technology. For Takahashi, it was one beat too many, one melody too discordant, and one kill too much for his frail heart to take. He immediately jumped to the only sensible solution he could muster: censorship. As if without chains on his words or fettered inhibitions, Takahashi outright asks for the game to be censored, writing, "My reaction is not that the developers should censor themselves or someone else should censor them. My question is about choices. We can make this kind of game, but should we? But should this kind of content, which we can see in movies or books, be in a video game? Should they be depicted in a form of art, where we have so much agency? It's going to be a mature-rated game that kids shouldn't play." But I had a conversation with an Uber driver who told me he lets his 6-year-old play Call of Duty. This response netted the mentally delicate journalist quite the reaction on Twitter. Indie developer Pixel Metal took the VentureBeat to task for his cause of censorship, stating that it was the job of adults to decide what to play, not the responsibility of publishers. Takahashi retorted that he wasn't a book burner, but he still felt that teams should drop the scenes. "I'm not saying games should be censored, but games should be censored. It's rated M for a reason. It's not the responsibility of game developers or publishers to do a parent's job when it's the parents letting younger kids play games. Go burn a book somewhere else. I'm not a book burner or a game burner. In 30 years of writing about games, I have never said something like this. I'm raising the question for this one. And I'm saying they should drop these scenes. I'm flagging this for parents to be aware of another no Russian. This guy's chatting utter rubbish. God forbid a video game depict the true horrors of war instead of glorifying it. Anti-war messages are fine. Depicting the horrors of war is good. But everybody has a line where it's no longer fun and entertainment. Then you mix that with the joy of multiplayer.